mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
I'm...
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, the weekly show. We introduce you to a content creator of all shapes and sizes. Join us from a different corner of the nerd universe. We find out more about them and what plans they have for the future. I am your host, Ryan of Nerd Culture, and our guest this week is a legend of legends. He is an illustrator, a graphic designer. Please welcome of Plasmafire Graphics, Jeffrey Hayes. Jeffrey, welcome to the program. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you so much for being with us. And by the way, if you have any questions for Jeffrey Hayes as we go throughout the course of the show, leave them in the comment section, leave them in the live chat. Our producers are going to be monitoring it as we go throughout the course of the show. But in the meantime here, Jeffrey, let's go back to the beginning, as it were. What would you say were some of your favorite movies or TV series while you were growing up?
You know, I am a TV child. I came home from school, watched TV until the parents got home. Summers were spent watching TV, going to movies, things like that. You know, I love the 60s movies, television shows, such as, I was a big, I Love Lucy, Munsters, Bewitched, all of those 60s staples, kind of fantasy staples, Hogan's Heroes, all of that. I love that. Night Gallery, Twilight Zone, that type of stuff is what I grew up on. But honestly, probably like a lot of nerds, it didn't seem like I was latched into something until comic books came along. And, I kind of like the old school comics. I used to get Lone Ranger and Gold Key, Star Trek, things like that. But then, as I got a little older, I got into comic books, the Avengers, Fantastic Four, stuff like that. But man, Star Wars came out in '77, and I was a teen, and I'd never seen anything like it, and then now become a lifelong Star Wars fan. Old school, OG, as they say.
Certainly nothing wrong with being a fan of the original trilogy. Has set a precedent and changed the world of movie making as we know it, for sure. And that kind of segues into my next question. What would you say were some of your favorite comic books growing up?
The first comics that I was exposed to that I really liked, I love the artwork. It's obvious, I'm sure. Lone Ranger was funny because I used to get my hair cut with my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And the barber was right next door to a little drugstore. And he would buy comic books, buy just anything and everything. He didn't really care, but he had a whole bunch of comic books like the old Dells and the old Gold Keys. And if you sat still, you could take a comic book home, and that hooked me. It was like a drug dealer, I had to go back and get my hair. Matter of fact, see, look, I got my hair cut so many times as a kid to get comic books. There's none left. So
it all just suddenly disappeared, unfortunately.
That's right. But yeah, the oldies, I would always try to take home a Lone Ranger, things like that. But then when I got old enough to start going to the store and buying my own stuff, it was Marvel. I confess that other than Batman in the Neil Adams era, that type of thing, I wasn't interested in DC. I had a very close friend who was DC all the way, and I just couldn't get into DC, but I love Marvel. Captain America, Black Panther, Shang-Chi, Iron Fist, all of those 70s era staples, Fantastic Four, Avengers, that type of thing.
Wow, great picks. I'm assuming, because I just recently read this not too long ago, Hard Traveling Heroes with Green Lantern and Green Arrow storyline by Neil Adams.
Slightly familiar with it only because it's Neil Adams, but not terribly familiar with it.
Okay, well, Green Lantern and Green Arrow are having differences in how they handle like saving their respective cities, and then they run into some really deeper issues.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really hard hitting for the time, and it's a really good one. It's available in deluxe. What do they call those things? Deluxe hardcovers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you go to your local comic shop or you go online, you can find it. It's there. I believe it was Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil, if I remember correctly.
Oh my gosh, that's a great combination.
Yeah, so if you want to check that out, there's something to add to your. I'm sure it's a 2-mile long to-do list of things I got to read. So you can just add that one to your to-do list a little bit later on in the show. I'll leave that as it may. But what would you say was your first Comic-Con you ever went to?
True straight up Comic-Con. In the era of the 70s, in Austin, there were not really Comic-Con, so to speak. There was a Star Trek convention that I went to, which was great because in that time, William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy weren't there, but you had George Takei, Nichelle Nichols, those folks were there, and that still was for a young adult. I was still starstruck. The original series is my series. I love most of the Star Trek that's come afterward, but if I flipping channels and someone's showing an original series episode, I'll know it in a second and I'll probably sit on it and watch it. So I remain an original series fan. And a lot of that's because of my age. Mm-hmm. But I love Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. I don't think Enterprise was given its fair shake. I think just as it caught its stride is when they canceled it. Everybody talks about franchise fatigue. I don't know that I necessarily buy into franchise fatigue. I maybe it's writer fatigue sometimes. But I thought Enterprise had great potential, but unfortunately they canceled that. I'm a moderate fan of the new Star Trek. I certainly like it. I don't dislike it, but I'm looking forward to Strange New Worlds, just because that's a neat era of Star Trek that I hope they treat well, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. But convention was your question. Until I was a teenager, they had small conventions down at the auditorium down in Austin, and I don't remember the names of them, but they were mixture conventions, kind of comic, science fiction, fantasy. There was that's where I kind of started collecting paperbacks and reading paperbacks and falling in love with paperback covers. And then we found Half Price Books in Austin, and then that's when my long love affair with book covers started. So,
ooh. Fascinating. But before we get to that, who do you hope to meet at conventions in the future when Earth hopefully reopens next year once the whole situation that we're going through kind of settles? Hopefully it does. I'm not saying it will, but I'm just speculating. Hopefully, all we can do is cross our fingers, cross our toes, or we can just beam ourselves up to the Enterprise and just get off of Earth and go somewhere else because it may be more hospitable in another environment. I don't know. I haven't explored Deep Space Nine yet, so I don't know. But who do you hope to see at conventions down the line there, Jeffrey?
I gravitate toward Artist Alley. There's no doubt. I mean, there's some folks that really I love. Alex Ross, not likely to meet him, but I love his work. Alex Garner, who is one of my favorite digital artists now. Jo Chin, she is a fantastic artist. There's so many artists that I like. When we went to Comic-Con Austin, this would have to kind of think about it. It was 3 years ago before pandemic. I hardly left Artist Alley. My son and my friend had to kind of pull me out of there because I was just talking to artists and buying stuff from them. And I am a hopeless romantic with regard to the underdog. When I see an artist sitting at his table and I see good art around him and he's kind of alone and by himself and no one is there, I go straight to that table because that's where you can engage in those conversations and learn so much from artists. Other people are, they're just moving down the line and I try to light on them. And if they're a famous artist and they will engage you appropriately. I think we all know what that means. So that they'll genuinely talk with you and be interested in what you're saying. I'll stand there and talk to them. And like I said, I have to get pulled away sometimes. My son and my friend have to pull me out of there to see other things, or I miss opportunities to get good posters and good comic books,
My goodness.
So those guys, artists, actors, Star Trek actors, most of them I would like to talk with. I have some prints that I would love to get signed someday. I've done some art. I would like Doctor Who actors, the new series. There's some I would like to meet and get some artwork I've done signed by them. But comic artists and illustrators, those are, I love them, and I love talking to them.
Wow. All right, I totally dig it. Supporting the indie creators, indie artists, and supporting the little guys out there. Completely understand. And by the way, we're talking with Jeffrey Hayes of Plasmafire Graphics, where the look of your book matters to you. I got that from Brian K. Morris. Brian, take another shot, buddy.
Right.
So, because he's just too good for that. So, if you have any questions for Jeffrey Hayes as we go throughout the course of the program, let us know in the live chat. Let us know in the comments. We're going to keep an eye on it as we go throughout the course of the show. Make sure you're sharing this video with all 500 of your closest friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching this video. I guarantee it. So, Jeffrey, what would you say were some of your favorite, books and, books, words on a page, and some of those writers growing up? You kind of hinted at a few of them, but are there any others you want to list off?
So, sometimes I have to admit, I bought, this is terrible, I bought paperbacks, not for their content. I know that it's horrible to say that, but for their covers. I would buy, for example, like Doc Savage books.
Oh, yeah.
And I've only read a bit of them or one or two, but I would grab them if they were half price books, where I can get them cheap, for a quarter. This was back in the day. Yeah. I wish I
could buy that thing down the street for a nickel. Can't do that anymore, unfortunately.
That's sad. I wish I could say a nickel, but for me it's a quarter. But I would buy a lot of books, but I liked science fiction authors. I liked, there is a Stephen R. Donaldson who writes a series, I think he's written more now, but the original trilogy, Lord Falsbane and the subsequent books, they're 70s era. So I don't know that they really find a lot of fans today, but I would recommend them. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised they haven't been picked up. The franchise hasn't been picked up by one of these streaming services to make a fantasy epic out of, But and of course, Tolkien, and who honestly, that is another. I was never interested in fantasy per se until I read Lord of the Rings. And when I say read Lord of the Rings, I can say this: I started with The Hobbit when the animated showed on TV, and I read the book. Liked it. My friend said, okay, you like that, but you really do need to read Lord of the Rings. I said, okay. I devoured it. I read Lord of the Rings in 2 days. Wow. I think I got the next book, as your allowance was given you, probably a week later, devoured that over the weekend. And then as a gift, I was given the Return of the King, and I devoured it. I mean, that mentally, like Star Wars did visually for me in a movie format, Lord of the Rings, changed my brain, rewired it as far as fantasy. And now I enjoy a broad, if it's visually interesting, you're usually going to catch me. If the story is heartfelt and the characters are solid, you'll keep me. I'm kind of, though associate myself with a lot of authors today, I confess that I didn't do a lot of in-depth reading. And I'll tell you why. Because reading time was artwork time. And so where others would sit and be able to kind of absorb a book or read, I would be drawing all the time. I'd be doing artwork anytime I could. if I wasn't playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, which is another absolute creative. You see it today. It's kind of becoming kind of in fad today, but Dungeons and Dragons was a way to create by just sitting around, a synergistic way of sitting around and creating with friends. But I guess probably about late 80s, when the it was hard to collect every comic that I wanted to.
Yeah.
I slowed down on comic collecting. I was much more involved in working. I was at that age where, sadly, work was a predominant feature in my life. And then all that changed in the late 80s. We can talk about that in a little bit too.
Oh my goodness gracious! So I guess it's fair. And one of our mutual friends, author Michaela Jade, brought this up the other day. You know, what is it that makes you read a book? Is it the cover? Is it the synopsis, that, you know, the blurb about it on the back of the book, or is it a particular author that draws you to it? And I said all of the above, but it kind of depends on the cover and the blurb, because the cover is one of the first things you see. It just kind of like hits you. It's like a bolt of lightning. Even though Dr. Emmett Brown would say, "Marty, please don't say that." So. Sorry, I love that trilogy. I can't help it. I mean, it's 1.21 gigawatts of awesomeness. I'm just going to say it out loud. But yeah, no, that's understandable. So you just kind of, you know, when someone sends you something, you try to visualize it in your mind, you put it out on the cover, which we'll get to in a bit, and it just comes to you in a way. I mean, yes, it's a creative process and it takes a bit of time, but once you do it and you have your finger on that pulse, it clicks. It just works for you. So that's completely understandable. I totally understand. That leads me into the big question that we have here. And I know the viewer watching this is probably dying to know. When did you specifically decide to become an illustrator or graphic designer? How did that happen?
So in the 70s, as a fan, I used to create fan magazines, you know, and me and my best friend did. And we would do that, and I knew I was fairly good at it. The layout and the not necessarily the writing. I'm not a good writer. Matter of fact, I always tell the authors that I work for, "Hey, you're going to have to edit me. Whenever I send you something, you're going to have to really look it over and edit me." But in the early 80s, there were two local gaming companies, and I knew I liked to draw characters and little scenes from the adventures that we would play in Dungeons and Dragons, or a science fiction role-playing game or something.
Right.
And one of my friends basically said, "Hey, you know, this stuff is as good or better than these pieces of art in this magazine here, and you should go over to their office and you know, see if they need another artist." And of course, imposter syndrome at a young age set in. And I would imagine, you know, these guys were my heroes. The good artists in these magazines were, I'm like, you know, they're just, I didn't know they were human beings yet. I thought they were small G gods sitting in the clouds, you know. And it was like, finally, I don't know, it was just a day. I found out where the office was in Austin. I wasn't too far from it. Matter of fact, I was probably less than 5 miles from one of the offices. Metagaming. It's out of business now. It doesn't exist. But I don't know what got in my head. I just got in my car and said, if I want to do this, I'm going to go do this. And I drove over there and I walked in the door and said, "This is what I'm interested in." And they were kind and listened to me, gave me a few things to test me. And once I came back, I ended up being the layout artist for their little gaming magazine for 2 years before the business started kind of splitting up and the people kind of going in different ways. That's when I knew I wanted to do it, or that I could do it well enough that I could do it for maybe some money. I worked for a Texas-based grocery company at the time. It was one of the fastest growing in Texas. And I did some artwork and some design work that got seen. And I was given the opportunity to become an illustrator for this grocery company. And so I would say this is about 82. That's what I started doing. And you can only draw food and things and paint food and things so much. But I was working so hard at it, all the other stuff kind of went to the sideline. And the gaming illustrations, the fantasy, science fiction, things like that, all went to the sidelines. And it really got sidelined in 1989 when I decided to go into a second passion. And I'm going to jump back in time real quick. When I was younger, two of my favorite television shows that were absolutely a part of my heart were Dragnet, the original Dragnet, and Adam 12. And both of those have Adam 12 especially had so much a hold on me. My parents could use it as blackmail. Get homework done, or there's no, you're not going to watch Adam 12. That kind
just the facts, man. Just
absolutely
facts.
Love that stuff.
There you go.
And I think in my heart of hearts, and one of the reasons that I love science fiction and fantasy and heroes and that type of thing, in my heart of hearts, I love people. Even as I get older, I struggle with loving people, but I love people, and I've always wanted to help people. And I kind of wanted, throughout the 80s, I became interested. One of my good friends, she went into law enforcement in Austin. And I used to go on ride-alongs with her and her husband. And I did it pretty much when I wasn't working doing illustrations and design and stuff for this grocery company. I was on weekends and nights, I was riding with them. And I started living kind of this dual life. And I realized somewhere in there that I wanted to become a police officer. And I started discussing it, in the late 80s with them, kind of on a not likely but interested kind of mentality. And then one day I knew it's what I wanted to do, and ended up becoming a police officer, going to the academy in 1989 and becoming a police officer. I'm sorry?
That was a great year. Tim Burton's Batman came out. Sorry,
Yeah,
I always draw back to
that's-
movie release dates. It's
Hey,
one of my things. So
that's what
89,
did it
that was
for
a
me.
big year. That was a big year.
It
Sorry.
absolutely was. As a matter of fact, that's another life-changing movie. I love that movie. That pretty, other than Superman,
So good.
that kind of changed the trajectory for future superhero movies, I think.
Yep, it's one of my
And we
all-time
wouldn't have
favorites.
MCU today, I don't think,
Yep.
without it. So
Yep, Tim Burton's Batman is one of my all-time favorites. Still watch it to this day.
Love it.
I remember
Yeah.
having it on VHS. I watched it so much that I burned out the VHS tape, and then I upgraded it to DVD. And then the 20th anniversary came about, and Warner Brothers put out the Diamond Deluxe Edition on Blu-ray, and I pre-ordered that at Movie Stop. Yes, Movie Stop used to be a thing, and it was awesome. And I'm so sad that they went out of business. I'm sorry, guys, but nonetheless, got the Blu-ray edition, and now I can watch it whenever. I mean, I know it's on TV like countless times. It's probably on a network somewhere down the line. And then obviously you got streaming services, HBO Max in this case, that I can just plug it in on. But at the same time, physical media is fun. And physical media is fun to collect too. So that's one of my side things. Anyway, this isn't about me. This is about you.
No. I agree with you. And I think that's part of what makes me interested in book covers and stuff like that. Is the tactile, holding a book in your hand, having a DVD box that you open, because you don't just open a DVD box and throw it in you're looking at it and you're kind of studying it a little bit. It's no different than a book cover.
That's
but
true.
I absolutely love physical media, but I am a child, or an old man of this age, I guess is the right way to say it.
You're still a young man at heart. That's what matters.
Let's see how long that.
Listen, hey man, age is just a number. Don't let it shake you.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Because I know I'm still 13 in my head.
That was an age, brother. That was an age.
Oh yeah,
man.
So I did law enforcement for 30 years, but during that time,
thank you for your service, by the way.
Well, no, I appreciate that. It was in a very interesting era of law enforcement. I think I learned a lot of how to be a good police officer, and I've seen things and people that I really wish different things. You know, I think law enforcement can be its own worst enemy, obviously, and any behavior that has recently become a thing in the public, you have to look at it and say, who's the source of that? You know, who caused this to happen? So I'm open-minded in this world. I'm not. I don't think I'm a closed-minded individual. I think I'm very open-minded. But when I hit my 30 years, it was time to go, and it was the right time. I had moved up to assistant chief of police, and I was very proud of that. I'm very proud of my career. But in that time, I still did artwork. Artwork has never left me, even as a police officer. I was, designing history books for departments, designing patches, all that kind of stuff. So it's always stayed a part of it. And then about 2006, things changed pretty heavily in the artwork realm. And if I'm diverging too much, you ring me back in. That's okay.
No, it's okay. Yeah, the question was, when did you decide specifically to become an illustrator and graphic designer? That was the main question.
This is probably the change in life that can be the most. Okay. I love watching fan films, Star Wars fan films.
Oh my gosh, the Darth Maul one.
Yes, they're all.
That's like an origin film of how he became Maul, and I'm like, dang, I wish the studios, the actual studios would listen to people and look, we've been through a lot with these certain characters, right? We remember the original trilogy, and by the way, R.I.P. to Princess Leia Organa, aka Carrie Fisher. We miss you dearly, Kenny Baker, Peter Mayhew, all those men and women who have been a part of this franchise. But at the same time, it's like the galaxy is bigger than just the original trilogy. You realize that, right? There are millions and billions of stars, millions and billions of planets, millions and billions of environments and characters that we have not explored yet. No. And I want to see it. That's what I want. Now, granted, they're starting to do it with The Mandalorian, by the way. Hashtag this is the way. This is the way, baby. Mandalorian, some of the best awesome sauce we've seen on television in a very long time. And now you got the Book of Boba Fett coming out at the end of this month. And by the way, this is a character that not a lot of people really knew about or not a lot of people cared for, because he shows up for 2 minutes in 2 films. He gets killed off easily by Luke, or should I say Han Solo is like, Boba Fett, where is he? Let me hit your jetpack, and then you're going to fall into the Sarlacc pit and be digested for the next 1,000 years. No, he fought his way out of the Sarlacc pit, and now he's kicking tail and taking names by taking over Jabba's palace, which means he has a huge corner of the criminal underworld at his disposal. What does that mean for the galaxy? How is it going to affect the people around him? How is it going to affect the planets and the environments and the new Rangers of the New Republic? How is that going to figure into it? So, yes, it's a familiar character. Yes, we've seen him before, but this is a new chapter. This is a new form of storytelling. These are new characters.
And they're doing a beautiful
from the
job
criminal underworld, and I want to see that. Yeah, I want to see the darker stuff that we never got to see in the original trilogy, because as we all know, the original trilogy was catered to a PG audience. With these new shows, you can cater it to a PG-13. Or I don't think Star Wars is ever going to do it, but if they did an R-rated series, it's gutsy, and I would watch the heck out of it because it's different. And that's what I want to see.
I'm curious how they do that, but...
Yeah. I didn't mean to go off on a big tangent about Star Wars, but
see,
I'm very excited for Mandalorian Part 3, and I'm very excited for Book of Boba Fett, because look how awesome he looks in that suit, and you got Ming-Na Wen as his backup. And by the way, Ming-Na, I know you're watching this. You haven't aged a day since I saw you on Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
That's right.
Okay?
Wow.
You have not aged a day since 1994. I know you were doing ER in between that movie and a few other projects you were working on at the time.
Yeah, ER.
Yeah, remember that? Yeah,
that's right.
She has not aged, brother. Anyway, I'm sorry, Ming-Na. If you're watching this, you're awesome. We're just going to leave it at that. But anyway, Mr. Hayes, you were saying about graphic design?
No, so everything you just said is absolutely. I agree with it. I love, Dave Filoni. Is very little he could do that I'm going to complain over, because he is the new heart of Star Wars as far as I am concerned.
He's a storyteller.
He is a fantastic storyteller, and he understands the mythology and Star Wars. And I'm not going to get up on the soapbox of the 3 last films, but I will say that I don't get on the internet and complain about them or gripe about them or anything like that. I just they don't exist in my mind. I choose I choose to
Hey,
just.
I'm not gonna argue with a certain film, and then the last one was okay. It kind of made up for the one before, but at the same time, I saw Force Awakens 6 times, so I am a big fan of TFA, and I'm also a huge fan of Rogue One. So I'll give Disney.
Rogue One is just an extension.
It is, but it's still a darn good film.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful,
darn good film. It's a war film. It's
matter
dark,
of fact, it should have showed to the movie, to the business suits, that if you take that franchise and treat it with care, you can create something on its own that is beautiful and will sit beautifully in with that series, with the series you've created. That's why I love like Rebels and Clone Wars and things like that. Bad Batch, all of that is done with care. They don't do it in a way that if they disregard anything, they do it in a way it's so minor that it's not a picking point usually.
Rebels too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that. The way he answers. So let me jump before I say this. The thing that's so beautiful about
we're going into a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah,
you're the guest of honor. We're going off script.
That's okay.
Because that's what we're here for. And by the way, if you have any questions for Jeffrey Hayes of Plasmafire Graphics, where the look of your book matters to you, once again, that whole finger point, that BKM, you do it so well, Brian. You got any questions for him? Leave it in the comments, leave it in the live chat. And by the way, make sure you're sharing this video with all 600 of your closest friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching this video. I guarantee it. Anyway, before we go on to the next question, you were saying something about the Star Wars universe and where it goes moving forward, Mr. Hayes.
Well, no, so what I love about Rogue One is that it answered questions that were maybe asked by the few nerds sitting around in a living room.
In the campfire. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we were sitting in Ewok Village one night with the Ewoks after they were done eating all those stormtroopers, and we're thinking, gee, I wonder how those folks did get those plans for that thing called the dreaded Death Star. Does anyone ever wonder that? Yeah, me too. And her name is Jyn Erso, baby.
That's right.
Dang, some good casting. And some good acting, too. I'm not going to lie. It's one of the best battle/war sequences that have ever been put on film. I mean, listen, that film went through creative overhaul with reshoots, but the reshoots didn't seem to affect it all that much, because when you watch the film, it's like, dang, this is a good war film, and it's gritty, man. Like, it shows you like how depressing the galaxy was to live in during that period. I mean, granted, you got hints of it at the end of Revenge of the Sith, even though the prequels are not very good.
I can live with the prequels. I can live with them.
Yeah, 2 and 3 I can't live with. Phantom Menace I can live with, because you got Darth Maul, we got Duel of the Fates, and you got Liam Neeson, aka Schindler, as a Jedi, and that's nothing to sneeze at. Liam Neeson, you're a great actor and a great gentleman, but you got hints of it in Revenge of the Sith, and you get more of it in Rogue One of, wow, this galaxy is so bad. Why is it so depressing? Why is it so dark? And then you get Lord Vader tearing up the joint at the end of the film, and I'm thinking, okay, I've seen you angry, but I haven't seen you this angry, so this is okay. Well, I mean, granted, you got hints of it in Revenge of the Sith, but they don't actually show you him doing it. But in this movie, they showed you chopping people in half, cutting arms off, cutting off limbs. And then one guy's trying to say, hey, open the dang door. We're trying to give you the plans, you morons. It's like, they didn't say that. I'm just paraphrasing.
And you knew he was doomed at that moment.
My gosh. Like, I mean, he's grabbing the weapons from him, and he's like slicing and dicing this one guy on the top of the speeder. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to end well for some of these folks.
At my age, I'm not much of a person that yells out in theaters. You know,
I don't pump moment. You're like, yeah.
Well, and one of my friends, one of my good friends that we go see Star Wars and MCU films, and my son were with me.
Right.
And of course, the whole show, the whole movie, I'm just like, there's so many things that I love about that movie. Oof. But the moment, and they do it so gorgeously, the moment that lightsaber is ignited and you know what is at the end of that corridor before you ever see it.
You're fracked.
I went berserk. Yes, absolutely. And I don't do this often, but I yelled out, holy F. And I was, because I was stunned. Just like when a certain Jedi comes back in Mandalorian, I was by myself watching it, and I went berserk.
I never thought that would happen. 35 years later. 35 years later.
I know. It's beautiful stories. That's what John Favreau and Dave Filoni
Those
put
two
together. They are my heroes today because they're really reviving what I hoped what the new movies would do. You know, as a fan, you want that new energy, and I didn't get it. But when I saw Mandalorian the first time it popped up, now Rebels and stuff, I get excited about. I love that series. But when Mandalorian, when you can see it live action and how well they did it, it was like I was a kid. I literally was a kid again. But
and it's a Western, and I love Westerns. It's a Western in space, and Mandalorian comes in there. You know, the very first scene is him just walking in, door opens, not much is going on, but he looks around. He's like, all right, anyone F's with me, you know what's going to happen.
That's right.
And then he ropes the guy, and then he chops his limbs off because the door cuts him up. And I'm thinking, okay, this is a Western. It's got a great score by, I believe it's Ludwig van Gorison. I'm trying to remember his name, but he's killing it with that. And then you got the Mandalorian with that cape, and it's a Western in space, and it's like basically the Mandalorian's it's our version of Clint Eastwood.
Exactly,
and it's great, and it doesn't bother me because I'm an Eastwood fan. I mean, granted, I've been an Eastwood fan for a bit, but I recently saw some of his older films, so I'm trying to catch up. I'm a bit young. So I'm catching up on a lot of Eastwood's films, and I'm realizing this guy is a bad blank motherfracker. You just don't want to mess with Eastwood, man. And when you get those elements in Star Wars, it's like, give me more. Just give me more. And then he gets an upgraded armor, and obviously you learn the catchphrase, this is the way.
Yes.
You want to go off into the sunset with his crew, blasting up troopers, you know. It's awesome sauce times 1,000. That's what I got to say about that.
And I never would have dreamed that the youngling, you know, or the baby Yoda that's gone through Grogu, you know, he's gone through so many names.
Yeah, he had 50 names. He had 50. And by the way, you just reminded me of something. This year is the 5-year anniversary of Rogue One.
Oh my gosh, is it?
Which I believe came out on December the 16th, 2016. Wow. So in a couple of weeks, I think it's like next week or the week after, we got to celebrate.
Absolutely.
So I may have to talk to the executives behind closed doors. Maybe we can do a 5-year anniversary celebration watch along, either on this YouTube channel or in conjunction with our good friends over at HWWS Web TV. We can celebrate the greatness, in my opinion anyway, that is Rogue One, a Star Wars
shared opinion, I assure you. You know, and that's kind of when I see movies like that, not only a franchise that I'm in love with, but when I see gorgeous movies, even if I don't necessarily gravitate to a story, or I'm not, it's not something that I like make a part of my life, like, you know, Star Wars and the MCU.
Sure.
I'm still inspired by it, and it gives me ideas for artwork. It gives me ideas for mood and setting and things like that. I really think that today you can go and if you want to be inspired by something, there's two things I do. Number one, when I'm doing art, soundtracks come on, and I have hundreds of soundtracks, but I do my monthly subscription to Apple Music so that I can listen to anything. I am that hooked. I mean, 8 hours a day. I'm doing artwork and I'm listening to soundtracks.
It's a lot of music in 8 hours,
Absolutely.
brother. Let me tell you.
And so I like if I'm doing a horror piece.
Right.
Boom, man. I'm looking up horror soundtracks. You know, oh, what is this? Listen, I haven't heard this. This is new. Boom. If I'm doing a Christmas piece.
Piece,
yeah, anything and everything. That's what's going on. I'm looking to my right because that's the screen that I bring up the music on. But I bring up the music and I start in on it. I start doing artwork, and if I don't get up, I'm at an age. If I don't get up every hour and move around, I could sit here for 6 hours. And my wife, this is a story I tell. It's not like I'm super proud of it, but she knows it to be true. She has said on a Saturday morning, sometimes she come out of my periphery and she says, "Hey, I'm gonna run some errands and I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna do my exercising, blah blah blah." And I say, "Okay, I love you." And then the next thing I know is I hear the garage door open. She pulls in and we're talking 4 or 5 hours later, and I look over and she's coming in the door. And I've just worked, so now I have a timer right in front of me, and it's a little oven timer. I hit an hour because I have to get up and move. I'm too old to sit here and do artwork for 6 hours anymore,
No spring chicken, are we?
No spring chicken.
It's
but
okay.
no, the
It's
soundtrack,
okay.
movies,
Nothing to be
soundtracks,
ashamed of.
comic book covers, things like that. I have tons.
Maybe
of,
John Williams. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, and I have pretty much everything John Williams has done. I mean,
John Williams is kind of a big fish in a big pond. Don't you see what I'm saying? I mean, Hans Zimmer, I think, is one of the greatest of all time. Zimmer. Man of Steel, anybody? Listen, I know that film gets thrown upon a lot, but my opinion is that's one of the best scores in the history of filmmaking. And also, to me, I know this is going to sound like blasphemy, but to me, it's my favorite Superman movie of all time. Nothing against Christopher. But for me, Henry Cavill just nailed it times 1,000. But that's just because, listen, we all grew up in the Reeve films, don't get me wrong, but Henry Cavill took it to like 1,000 for me. That's why I wish we never got a Man of Steel trilogy, which I'm so angry and frustrated for, because Henry is such a gifted young man and he is a gifted actor. And if Warner Brothers doesn't wake up and smell some coffee, preferably fresh, you need to give Henry his own freaking trilogy, because BVS and Justice League don't count. They don't count because they're team-up films. They are not Superman films. Give him his. I've
got a feeling we're going to see. Well, I hope we'll see him again. But they're taking so long.
They're so reactionary. It's terrible. They're terrible. So Warner Brothers, wake up, smell some coffee, drink some of it from that Plasmafire Graphics mug that I'm sure you can find on plasmafiregraphics.com, where good things matter where the look of your book matters to you, as well as many other things. Let's not forget about that here. But yeah, give Henry his freaking trilogy already.
Absolutely.
For Pete's sake, the man's not getting any younger. He's still jacked up because he works out 24/7.
Or make him Captain Britain and let him live in the
MCU. I heard rumors about that. If that happens, hey, at least he's still doing something that's a bit comic book related. Not that there's anything wrong with that. See what I did there?
Little James Bond wouldn't be bad, but we'll see what they do.
Yeah. I mean, he auditioned for that in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. He
Absolutely.
literally auditioned for James Bond as Napoleon Solo. It's like, just give him the freaking job. He was this close to being James Bond back in 2006 between him and Daniel Craig. And then Daniel Craig, they went with Daniel Craig and he beat him out. But listen, Henry, you can still do it, brother. You can still do it. And if the executives wise up, smell the coffee, whatever, give you the gig, sign on the dotted line, brother. You're going to be just fine, Henry, because we believe in you. We got Witcher Part 2 coming out on Netflix, so at least you still got work.
That's awesome.
Good on you, Henry. I haven't seen The Witcher yet, so no spoilers, but I plan to watch it at some point because it's Henry freaking Cavill, and Henry Cavill is a gift to mankind in my
He was awesome even as a villain in Mission Impossible.
Yeah, Fallout. Yeah.
Yeah, Fallout was fantastic. That bathroom fight scene.
Oh my God. That was the best. The trailer gives you a sneak peek at that, and I'm glad that sometimes in the trailer you don't always get the scenes that are in the trailer in the final cut. Sometimes they end up in the cutting room. That actually happens a lot more than it should. But when he goes like this, jacks up his arms, he's like, "Come on, man, come on, you want to go? You want to go?"
Loads the guns.
Yeah, exactly. And he just like him and Tom are throwing the guy through the window of the bathroom. I'm like, "Geez, that is uber violent," and it's pretty painful, I'm sure, even though it's, they do all the stunts, so they have safety people for that. Yep. But at the same time, it's like, that is pain, but you're doing it. And by the way, Henry loves to do his own stunts, so more power to Henry Cavill, as well as TC. The guy's pushing 60 and Cruz is still doing it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Hats off to you, TC. But anyhow, so you got, what is it called? My gosh, I don't even know where we're going with this, but listen, you're an illustrator, you're a graphic designer. So my question for you is, what are some of the biggest rewards of being an illustrator or graphic designer?
Making people happy is the biggest reward. So when I do art and I do entertainment illustration, or I do it because I usually enjoy the genre. For example, one of the reasons that I gravitate to Bobby Nash is because of his Snow series. I love that character. I love the way he writes it, and that will generate creativity in me. Same thing with Captain Hawkland and Charles's series. They are good writers. And Brian right now is writing a series for his Patreon or for his patrons. The Terrors, absolutely. I was so charged up by it. I did a cover just to do the cover because I was so inspired by the writing, and I hope to see that print sometime next year. But I that makes me happy. That's the part of this whole thing that makes me happy. Getting into the stories that these guys are writing, doing artwork in genres that I would not otherwise find myself working in, and then making them happy. That's the next step. Making the author say, oh, when they say you've captured that moment, you've captured that character, you've captured this series, that makes me, that like is the payoff, is the ultimate payoff. And then listening and hearing what fans have to say about a piece of work, that's the third payoff. And you know, it's hard to live. I mean, I've listened to criticism. I have had my art criticized. There have been some traditional artists, pen and ink guys, comic book artists who I love that stuff. It's not what I do. I wish I could do sequential art. I wish I could do comic books. It's just not what I do. It's not what I can do. And they don't particularly cast me as a contemporary because I work in the digital realm. I used to work in the traditional realm, pen, ink, watercolor, for years. But once I learned the computer realm, that's what I work in. And now I can turn around. So when, say, Charles Milhouse wants to have this new, his omnibus covers, that's a perfect example. Well, I love the series and I love the character and I love the genre. So I'm diving in and not coming up, for 6 hours because I love it. And so that's reward. When you love what you're doing, that's a reward. But I find the business part of it is tough for me, and trying to conduct business when artwork is more fun. But I also, had this project that just launched with we call them the new skins to the Captain Hawkland series.
Oh yes,
I love the cover artwork of that series, and I wanted to sit down with him and say, it would be fun to bring these into couch them in a way that they sit up on a bookshelf and they look identical. And I'm becoming a paperback fan of the 60s and 70s. I love those old series, Executioner series, things like that, Mac Bolan, that have that look. And when you pop them up on a bookshelf, they're part of a series. And so I had a little Facebook meeting with him behind the scenes over the camera. And it was so hard for me to just say, okay, I would love to do this, but I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I would love it. I had all of this energy built up, and I'm leaking it out like taking a balloon and going, I'm like dying for him to say, yes, let's do this. But it is killing me to try to get my idea and my thoughts out, because I never ever want to step on toes, and I never want to hurt anybody's feelings, especially people I consider friends. Charles and Brian and Bobby I consider friends.
So I guess those are your three amigos, as it were.
They are my three amigos.
Those are your Ned Niederlander and Lucky Day and your Dusty Bottom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, gee willikers, you mentioned those three so much. I figure, there's a bromance going on behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Sure. And also, those are your three amigos. So, hey, listen, if those three gentlemen are watching this, make sure, don't forget to save the village of Santapolco and find out what Carmen's doing for dinner tonight. That's all I got to say about that. Just make sure you're not wearing a sweater. It's a sweater.
They have a plethora.
They do. But the question on everyone's mind is, what do you know what a plethora is? Why? It's like, Jefe, I want to see if you know what a plethora is. Oh, yes, you have a plethora. But anywho, I'm sorry. That's a great 80s film. It's a fun 80s comedy. John Landis, I believe it was at his creative prime at that time of his life and his career. So, John Landis, if you're watching this, Gracias. Great
Very
job,
underrated
man.
film. Excellent film.
It's got its moments. I mean, My Little
Okay.
Buttercup is one of the most oddest, most out of place singing numbers I've ever heard in my life. But at the same time, they're singing to a group of dudes in the cantina, and you're thinking, where exactly is this movie going? Because this is
awesome.
completely off the usual pathway. If I can say that, I'm not sure, but I'll leave that up to you to interpret at home. Once again, we're talking with Jeffrey Hayes of Plasmafire Graphics. Any questions for him? Let us know in the comments. Leave it in the chat. We're going to be keeping an eye on it. And also, make sure you're sharing this video with all 700 of your friends, because they are going to like the way they look after watching this video, I guarantee it. Carl Witzman is here with us. He says,
Hey,
sorry
Carl.
I'm late, guys, but hello to you anywho. Carl Witzman. Hey, Carl. Good to see you, if you catch my drift. Carl also says that Jeffrey's covers as well as his videos are nothing but great. Wow.
Thank you, Carl.
That's high praise there, man. I hope that's, be careful what you say. I'm just kidding. But the next question on the flip side of the coin here is, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges of being an illustrator and graphic designer here, Jeffrey?
For me, it's like I said a while ago, it's navigating the business part of it. It's also navigating a little bit of the relationship part of it. There are times that I come across an author, an indie author, and their work is stunning, outstanding. It may be a novella, it may be a short story, but their work is outstanding. But the cover of their novella is not to the standard that I would say matches their writing. And so it's hard. It's hard sometimes when you try to work with an author that has a series of books. I picked up a new client this last fall who I was able to do a recent release of a series he's starting. And it was difficult because I knew I wanted to take that cover look into a different direction. And so I didn't know who did his covers. I do know that there's lots of ways to get your cover done out there. There's lots of Fiverr and things like that. There are pre-made covers. Those hurt my heart. I will tell you that, to be honest with you. Pre-made covers, there's a place for them. I get it. But they hurt sometimes when you see a pre-made go on a book by a friend or someone that you know, and you read their book and you go like, oh, please, why didn't, if you just asked me, that's what I'm having difficulty navigating, is trying to help authors understand, and maybe they do understand it, but help them maybe understand it a little better, of how packaging, marketing, and the look of your book matters. Because like Brian says, and he encapsulated that so well, and I stole it right from him. I'm not embarrassed to say it. That tagline I stole because it's true. It took my feelings and said them in a few words. That's why he's a writer. And it's true. Look of your book matters to you because it matters to your readers. And that's true. I think you asked a question before of me. What do I think is the draws people to a particular book? If they're new readers, I believe I can firmly say it's the genre and then the cover, because they're always going to be interested if it falls within a genre that they enjoy. But if you want to hook them, just like fishing, you got to put bait out there that's going to get them to nibble. And the nibble turns into the blurb on the back or a few pages in the front. And then that's the meat of it, and that's going to catch them. But I think if you don't have bait out there, a good looking cover that matches the awesome writing, and the layout and the title graphics and all of that are brought into, it's like an orchestra. Yes. It's you bring them all together.
Yep. It's a mixture.
It is an absolute beautiful mixture. And I think that when you get that and you've got that beautiful writing inside, then, it's going to elevate their work. I believe that. I don't always hit home runs. I don't. I've made some covers that I'm not proud of. Mm-hmm. I've made some covers that I wish I could go back and change.
Well, they do say that we are our own worst critic.
Yeah, I would say that's true, because I immediately start criticizing something I've completed. Like, matter of fact, if you left it to me, I probably wouldn't finish a piece. I love time. Geez. I love time, due dates and timetables, because
time management, brother.
Tweak.
That's a lot. That's a lot of tweaking, I will say, but yeah, makes perfect sense. By the way, Carl Witzman chimes in. He says, I've been complimented on covers that I have done. So when I tip my hat to someone known as Jeffrey Hayes, that means something. Wow, Carl, you're giving all the praise, aren't you, young man? And then Carl also has a question. He says, he says, and I've seen awful covers, and how to tell someone you like that their cover is horrible. How do you do that?
Well, I'm going to confess, much of the time I can't. I don't. Do
you try to push the negativity aside and only focus on the positive?
I do, and I will say this because there's also one of the things I admire about indie authors is they have loyalty, and they are loyal to friends who've done work for them before. And so I never want to be George Costanza running out of an apartment and screaming fire. I never want to push people down, and because it always ends up bad, Right.
But so you believe women and children first is, in this day and age, is somewhat of an antiquated notion to some degree. Seinfeld fan right here, and it's good to meet another fellow Seinfeld fan. Jeffrey, you and I are going to get along famously. And in the words of a great classic film from the 1940s once said, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Friendship.
So I'm just going to leave it at that. But anyway, I'm sorry. You were saying about how to tell someone that you like their cover is horrible, to answer Carl's question.
So I don't know that I necessarily have ever done that. I cannot confess and say. Right. What I try to do is I try to do work that speaks for itself. Would I like to tell an author, hey, can I redo your cover? Sure. But I'm going to be honest. There are other artists who can capture a mood or a feel that is right for a character. Oh, here's a great example. It just popped into my head. Here's a perfect example. Mm-hmm. They're like the project that Charles and I just got done doing, and he launched the recovering of those books. I would never replace any of that artwork. I would never do that. But to frame it,
yes,
that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to frame the artwork so it could be displayed differently, and I hope that he finds that people are happy with it and satisfied with it. But there are books out there. I have friends that are that have books with artwork on them that I look at and I go, I wish I could have done that. I wish I could have done that for him. And sometimes it's just because of relationships. It's not because the art is bad. It's just because I would love to have been a part of that project. But that's okay, because in the past 3 years now, I have met so many other illustrators in my circle that I love, and many of them are Nevermorians, and their work, I'm finding there's always a way that a good artwork can be used for a cover. Sometimes it just needs better title, better framing, if you will.
Sure, a little bit of panache. Yeah.
I would say that when I worked for Prose Press as an artist, there are times that I would tell the editor-in-chief, I would say, let me do that. Let me work on that, because the previous issues were not that attractive. Of course, in the world of indie publishing, you don't always get one artist all the time. And you don't get to couch your entire series, have cover your entire series with one artist.
Right.
Sometimes I like jumping in the middle of a series and emulating previous artists, if I can, and try to do it in their style so that it fits within that series of previous publications. but I'm not. It's terrible. I had not, and I've jumped around not answering Carl's question because I don't think I've ever done that, and I will be honest. I don't think I ever could. I don't think I could ever point to someone's previous work and say, that's terrible. You really need to get it off of your cover of your book. Because part of what's important to me and what I enjoy the most is the relationships I've made over the past 3 years through Brian and never mind the furthermore and those folks.
A lot of people.
They're great.
Big family too. I mean, you think there's just 3 amigos in this family? No, sir. There are like millions, if not hundreds of thousands. I know. I just kind of demoted that number a bit, but still, I was never really good at math. So come at me, bro, in the comments if you want. I'm fine. I'll live to fight another day. It's fine. But no, the Nevermorians is a huge family. It's a huge group, and we respect the heck out of them. And if you don't know what we're talking about, check out risingtide.pub for more information about Brian K. Morris and what he's got going on. Because let me tell you something. This guy is in his 60s, and he does like 5 shows a week. He's a madman. He's out of his mind. But we love the heck out of him anyway because he's just such a good dude. And I call him the Mr. Rogers of the interwebs because he's so nice and supportive of other people. And that's what I dig about it. But that's just my 2 cents. And Carl, you're coming in here with your jokes again. You say, we do judge a book by its cover. Otherwise, why do we have the saying, don't judge the book by the cover? Ha, 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 ha. There you go, Carl. There you go. There you go. Let's see here. Carl chimes in. He says, my wife loves the covers that I did for some of her books. I do not like the covers, but I did it her way. It eats me up, but I don't say anything.
You know, I have done some work that I have not been necessarily proud of that needed to be done and done quickly. And it made the author happy. And really, that's, like I said a while ago, that's 3-step process. Sometimes I'm okay with not being happy as long as that author is happy. And if the author is happy, now that's why Carl's question is double-edged. And it's interesting because, yeah, I would love to be able to say, you know, that artwork that you've got there is not very good. Give me a chance to redo that. I will never do that. I just won't. I won't do it. There are too many opportunities out there. If they ask me to do their artwork and do their cover, that's awesome. And I love working that out. And sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. But I don't think it'll ever happen, Carl. So that's the answer to your question. I don't think I could do it. And all I would do is let my work stand on its own and hopefully they choose me next time. I don't know.
Well, it took you a minute or two to answer Carl's question fully, but I'm sure Carl doesn't mind waiting because, Carl, you've been around this earth for how many decades now? You've been around for a while, pal. I think you're used to having something known as patience is a virtue. That's what I've learned in the course of my young life, and I'm sure other people have heard that outside of the studio. Now, you mentioned something about a few different pieces of the covers and characters and what conveys the story to the reader or what you're going to get within a story with the cover. And I want to bring up some examples here. I think this is the one you mentioned earlier about Brian K. Morris as a new thing coming out. Yes. The Terrors. This Beautiful is the Terrors right here. So I'm looking at this right here. If you had to describe this, I mean, I know Brian K. Morris can speak more to this because it's his baby, but at the same time, what is the Terrors exactly? What is this cover telling us exactly?
So the Terror obviously was I would call a golden age era character. And what Brian does so well, Brian K. Morris does so well.
There's a lot of Brians out there, including Brian Rodman, which you can find out more about at brianrodman.com.
But he does beautiful reimaginings of characters. That's something he is very, very good at. Taking an established IP like the Terror and then kind of massaging it a little bit into something new. And so when I started reading this series, I read it as I am one of his patrons and I'm proud to be one of his patrons. And he started the series and I was like, okay, more, this is really good. I love the era. I love how you're introducing the characters. I love everything about this. And the more it went on, the more I loved it. And basically this character is powerful, but not extraordinarily powerful. how he gets his powers, how he's able to use his power, and how he's able to share his power is part of what makes the story fun and really, I would call it, it's not necessarily an origin story, but it is an origin story because this is taking the terror to a different realm. Yes, he has changed the character to an African American character. That is not the beginning and end of this story. It is just part of the painting. It's part of the paintbrush he uses. He writes some pretty interesting little nuances of contemporary politics, if you will, of the world in it, and I like it. And I like what he's doing with it, and I can't wait for him to finish it, polish it, and get it out there, because I think people will really, really love it. And I hope that again, I think I told you this earlier, just reading it got me so charged up. I started doing artwork. I then kind of asked Brian, I said, do you care if I play? And he says, no, play. And that's all I needed, is just to be unhooked off the leash. And I took off, and I love it. I love doing it. I started realizing, hey, could this be your cover? And he said, yeah, I'm digging it. And so then I realized, oops, I've done something I've got to invest further in. So I started asking, what's going to happen in the story? Although I love reading it, coming out piece by piece by piece, I realized to complete a cover, I had to learn a little bit about the future. And so he had to feed it to me. And I said, don't give me too much, but I want to know enough that I can finish the artwork. And so it became a cover project, I would say within a few days of revealing the early artwork to him. And I love that. It's one of my favorites. One of the first t-shirts that I bought in my series of t-shirts, and I wear it all the time, and it gets a lot of attention.
Ooh, there you go. Hinting at a little something we may discuss in just a moment. Maybe you're gonna have to stick around and watch the rest of this video to find out. Make sure you're sharing this with all 800 of your closest friends. They're gonna like the way they look after watching this video. I guarantee it. Once again, it's Jeffrey Hayes of Plasmafire Graphics. Any questions for him? Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We're gonna be taking them as they come in. And by the way, if you are watching this video, thank you so much for being with us and liking and sharing it and all that good stuff. Really appreciate it. Now, this one over here gives me some serious vibes to a certain character that's been around for many, many decades. But I want to hear your thoughts on this, because I'm very curious to see how this came about. The Black Bat sounds like something out of a 1989 Tim Burton film. Oh, I don't know. What was it called? What are you? I'm Batman. I mean, the Black Bat. Can you tell us exactly what this is all about?
So the Black Bat is another IP that's old enough that it's gone into public domain, and authors can write a character. Marlon is I'm not going to reveal anything about his story, and I really don't want to reveal the hook, because the hook is so cool. But he has a great approach to this character. I've kind of been criticized by some people behind the scenes on the art for its not matching the original character in the pulps. But
going a bit off kilter there.
Yeah, and you know what? I think there was room. There's just as much room for Marlon to create some cool aspects to this character as there was to create a little bit different look. But I think we kept it.
Sure.
I think we kept it close. I do love Batman, and I do love Neil Adams' Batman.
Old school right there.
Yeah.
That's going in the Wayback Machine, if you know.
Absolutely. And even as a young, we're talking, if I give away my age, I was probably 2 or 3 years old when I read Neil Adams. No,
it's okay. Age is just a number. It's okay.
It is a number, but I love that era of Batman, because I love the detective Batman.
Yes,
that's why I'm
world's
looking
greatest
forward.
Detective. Yeah,
I love that aspect of him. It has not been explored as much as it should in the theatrical versions.
The upcoming film may change that.
We'll see.
Know yet.
I'm going to stay open-minded about it. I'm going to stay very
I like the
open-minded
trailers
about it.
they've put out. Although I feel like the second trailer just added a few things that were already in the teaser, so it's kind of like, the teaser was better of the two. But then again, it's a whole marketing thing. That's
Yeah, I think exactly. I think they were kind of giving the action fans a little more in that second. But the first one,
trailer.
Yeah, I do too, because it's more gritty, and I love that grittiness.
And the eerie song that's playing. Oof.
Yep.
It's creepy vibes all over. And we got the Riddler headlining a Batman film the first time since 1995.
Yep.
Yes, I was there. Yes, I like Batman Forever, and I don't care what people say, because to me, I like the OG 89 and 95. For me, Batman Returns was a Tim Burton film, not a Batman movie. And the Batman and Robin, the less said about that movie, the better. But anyway, that's just me. Anyway, you were talking about Mr. Black Bat here.
So the character, the way Marlon has written into his story, or the way he's described the direction he's taken,
sure,
was one of those things where you get into those quick email conversations, text conversations,
sure.
And he just gave me enough information. He's just starting into the process of digging into putting his teeth into the writing, but the concept that he expressed to me was enough to get absolutely all the creative juices flowing. And I just knew how I wanted to depict that character. He wanted him in a graveyard. He wanted the rain. He wanted the moodiness of it. And that's all he needed to tell me, because I love that style, that look. And this is just my interpretation of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks great. I look forward to reading it at some point. I mean, like Carl, you brought up earlier, we shouldn't judge a book by the cover, but these covers are just so good to look at, brother. So, I mean,
sometimes
you want to sell something. This is a great way to sell. I'm just saying.
But it's all about catching them. You do not throw, when you're fishing, you do not throw, some people do, I suppose, but the best way to fish, you don't throw a hook into a water with nothing on the hook. You don't throw the line in the water without a lure. I'm using the fishing analogy, and I don't fish. But
great, that's great. Because guess what? Neither do I.
Yeah, but to me, that's my job. My job is to create the bait.
That's some good stuff. Just make sure you don't run into a giant shark named Bruce, and then your partner from behind says you're going to need a bigger boat.
Yes.
I'm just saying. But this is some of the more recent things that you've put out. You mentioned something about Charles F. Millhouse and what he's doing with the Captain Hawkland series. This one, I believe, is the cover for Omnibus Volume 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. That's correct.
So this is like 4 stories mashed up into one book. Am I right?
I believe it is first 4 books are in the Omnibus 1, Volume 1. And you get a real good introduction to who Captain Hawkland is. Again, this is one of those things that Charles has a great story, has a great set of characters. I like where he's going with it. I look forward to see what he does with Captain Hawkland. And Captain Hawkland isn't new. It's 10 years old in next year. And
celebration's coming up soon. Congratulations to Charles F. Millhouse on the upcoming, I should say, 10-year anniversary of Captain Hawkland and the Captain Hawkland Adventures.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this is a great thing, or materials you put out here for him here. This cover of the omnibus, because to me, and Charles, you may correct me in the comments later on if you want, but I feel like Charles F. Millhouse is either watching or listening to the John Williams Raiders score while he's writing these stories, or while he's piecing together other elements of the story. He's got John Williams playing on repeat over and over and over again. Because I'm looking at this cover, and I can't speak for you, the viewer, who may be watching this at home, but to me, this screams Indiana Jones. This screams adventure. This screams globe-trotting, adventure-heavy, craziness going on, enemies from different parts of the world trying to come at this person, because Captain Hawkland's the protagonist of the story, but at the same time, you never know what's going to happen around the next corner. He could be fine 1 minute, and then Captain Hawkland could be facing the most deadliest adversary of his life in the next page. When you're turning the pages of each respective story, I'm at, because there is more than one in this series. Let me just point that out right now.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so Volume 1 looks great. You get a taste of the characters, some of the enemies, maybe some of the love interests. I'm seeing a young lady on this thing, so maybe that's one of his love interests. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I look forward to reading it in the year 2022. I'm jacked up for that. And then you also mentioned something about Volume 2.
Yes.
This, look at this. How much fun did you have putting these two together?
So, because I love the character and I love the genre, and it's funny you say you have Indiana Jones playing. Whenever I start working on these, I'm
the Raiders
listening
March
to everything. That's playing on my soundtrack, and I cue them all up, and I listen to them all day. I put them away at the end of the day, and the next day starts the same for each segment. Early on, I had done a poster for just for fun, just to, again, kind of like what I did for Brian. I was excited about the characters, excited where he was going with the stories, and so I did a little poster for fun, shared it with them. That opened up some opportunities. You'll see some of the art in Omnibus cover 1 and 2. A little bit of that art is on that poster, shared on that poster, because poster is just more a collection of all things Captain Hawkland.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why you said something that's interesting.
Is it this one?
Yes, that's it. One of the things that I like about it,
look at
Captain Hawkland series and the potential for the Captain Hawkland series, is that he can meet any kind of possible adventure, adversary. It can be natural, from a bear, a grizzly, to a gangster, to a mummy.
A T-Rex.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a T-Rex on this poster. Now, granted, the image that we're showing you right now is a poster or I don't know if this word is right or not, but a collage of what the Captain Hawkland adventures are. And you look at this and I'm thinking, why isn't this a movie already? Like, why isn't this a Netflix series? Because I'm telling you, Charles F. Milhouse, if you're watching this book series is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. But if someone is smart enough, they will say this should be a series because this looks like fun. It's a throwback to certain eras of the past, and also it can bring in a new generation of fans.
Absolutely.
So if you're an executive and you're watching this, look at what Jeffrey Hayes has done here. Look what Charles F. Milhouse has done. This is styling and profiling like the nature boy, Ric Flair. I'm telling you, you want to sell something, this is how you sell, brother. And Charles F. Milhouse, once again, my hats are off to you because these are great stories with great characters. And I look forward to purchasing the omnibus volumes, respectively, when they come out in 2022. Don't get me wrong, Charles. You can shut up and take all my money. All right? You're already getting my money already. I have a few of your shirts in my possession, but I'm telling you, it's happening. It's happening. Sorry. Going off a bit off the rails here, but as you were saying of what goes,
all you're doing is reflecting my thoughts, so you're not off the rails.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, any other thoughts that you would like to share in regards to what it took to design the Omnibus 1 and 2 for Captain Hawkland, or just anything else that you wish to express about putting together the marketing materials for Captain Hawkland?
So, Charles and I'm almost 100% sure that had we grown up living several blocks apart, we would have been grown-up friends, and we would be watching the same movies, reading the same books. He loves so many of the same things I love. I'm often very cautious about, oh, I love that too. Oh, I love that too, because he's going to start going, but there's so many things he does, from even like the Captain Hawkland Crusaders, idea behind the fans being Captain Hawkland's Crusaders, and there being Crusaders in the book, and you being able to imagine, I'm one of Captain Hawkland's Crusaders. That is such golden age, beautiful stuff that we don't have as much today. That we should, and people can be that invested in a story, and kids should be invested in stories like that, where they can imagine themselves as part of the adventure. That's why I love it. That's why I gravitate to it, because he's handling it like it might have been in the 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s. And so I love those eras. I love that kind of the stuff he's doing.
Yeah. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Charles F. Milhouse, I believe you put out a link for this on your social media this weekend, if not this week. This is what the new versions of, or the new covers, I should say, for the Captain Hawkland adventures that are available right now on Amazon. And I believe you left some links out on your promotional page, Charles F. Millhouse Presents. So if you haven't joined that page yet, join up. It's a great Facebook group page.
Yep.
Lots of great things are happening there right now, especially with the 10th anniversary that's coming up so soon. It's going to feel like Christmas morning. Oh,
yep. A lot of cool stuff happening.
Oh, the sweet smell of a new book. Sorry, that was my Juggernaut X-Men the Animated Series impression right there, because I grew up in the 90s. So
yeah, you're a 90s kid.
X-Men was kind of a big deal for me in the 1990s. And by the way, you had tons of other great stuff like Batman the Animated Series, Spider-Man the Animated Series, as well as many other comic book and other fictional known characters. But look at these borders. Look at this border here. This looks fantastic. I mean, even if I've never heard of Captain Hawkland, never heard of what the series is about, the story is about, or just some of the support. Like if I haven't heard just one little thing about this and I was walking into a bookstore and I saw this cover, I would look at it and say, that's a big bear. How does he get out of this one? Well, exactly. I guess I should buy the book and I should pick it up and read it, shouldn't I? I mean, isn't that the point?
Yep. And look over there. There's another one in the same style of cover. I might be interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
but again, the artwork of the previous 9 volumes in that series is beautiful.
Yeah. It's very old school, very natural.
Exactly. And I wanted just to bring out, making it feel like a series. That's the only reason we pulled that framing in, is so that people know that book 1 is in the same series as book 9. You know, that's anything to help Charles further that series. I agree with you. If somebody smart could grab onto that series, they could do something very special with it on anything like Netflix or Amazon or a similar, type of platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Great pieces of artwork, great pieces of marketing material done by the one and only Jeffrey Hayes of Plasmafire Graphics. Make sure you're sharing this video with all 900 of your best friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching this video, I guarantee it. Any questions for Jeffrey Hayes, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Thank you so much for being here, for those of you who are tuning in. But my goodness gracious, I mean, you've done so much great marketing materials. Goodness. But the other thing you've done, and you and I were talking about this in the backstage area before the show, I am wearing one of your shirts that you can find on TeePublic, and I'll bring up the visual aid for you, the viewer at home, in just a moment. But this is one of your shirts, and this is a character known as the Shadow, who was very, very big. I believe it was in the 1940s, going into the 1950s. You had the radio program that was previously voiced by Citizen Kane himself. Orson Welles did the radio program way back in the day. But I gotta say, this T-shirt is ridiculously good-looking, if I do say so if I do say so myself. So I'm just curious, when exactly did the T-shirt shop for you open up? How did that happen? And here it is right now on your screen.
So the T-shirts, well, first of all, the companies that are out there that will produce work, and I don't have to do a lot of the heavy lifting, meaning I'm not going to be able to print my own shirts, ship my own shirts, but TeePublic. And you always have to be cautious because you want the quality to be a high quality shirt. They produced a series. A friend of mine did some to promote his book series. As soon as I bought a couple of those, I said, "Oh my gosh, these are nice quality shirts, nice quality prints." And I wanted to be able to get the artwork out there where the authors could wear it, where fans could wear it, where I could wear it. Where I could, matter of fact, I'm not ashamed to say that Monday through Friday I live, and probably Saturday and Sunday, I live in one of these shirts. And I've gone everywhere from doctor's offices to grocery store to CVS pharmacy, and people have said something about a shirt I was wearing, either the Shadow shirt or the Black Bat. Or recently, I went to CVS, which was interesting. I'm sitting there paying for my my pharmaceuticals. I'm wearing one of the Captain Hawkland shirts, and I'm looking at the guy who's taking my money and ringing me up, and I can tell as we're talking, he's looking at the shirt. He's looking over the transaction at the shirt. And he goes, can I ask you what that is? And so I told him, and I stood there for as long as I could, telling him how he could find it, where he could go. So to me, it's another way for me to help market my friend's art, the series that I'm very proud of. There's some friends that I have had that have done. They're going into their 4th book now. I like being able to do that artwork that reflects the quality and adventure of their writing. The T-shirts are just a way to further market myself and market their work. And it works. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people stop and ask me about, what is that you're wearing? What is that on that T-shirt? Mm-hmm. And I love having those conversations. And I hope I've won some new fans for some of the authors that are my friends.
Mm-hmm. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at all these shirts, and I'm like, are these like new trilogies of movies and TV series on streaming services that I haven't heard about yet? Because look how ridiculously good looking these shirts are. I'll give you a real quick. I have this Snow shirt I own, this Hawkland shirt I own, Evolution Man I own, the Shadow I showed off just a moment ago I have. Where's the other one? I'm trying to think. Evolution Man, it was fantastic. That's a great story.
Oh, wait till you see the second cover. That'll come out next year. I love it.
Man, you're setting us up with a teaser, man. Don't be like that. I'm just kidding.
I love it.
But yeah, that's where you can find the T-shirts on TeePublic. Also, there are links on the Plasmafire Graphics Facebook page. Make sure you join that today. We have links to where you can find a lot of this stuff in the description of this video. So make sure you check that out very, very soon. Get on it, as someone would say. But my goodness, great shirts, great covers, great illustrations, great graphic designs, if I do say so myself. Any special memories for you from being at conventions as a vendor, whether it's selling the shirts or, selling the prints or stuff like that? Anything like that? I have not been to a con where I have had a table set up. There were plans to do that, of course, strangely enough, right about the time that a certain pandemic hit. My goal was to travel a little bit and get out there, go to some shows, big or small, it doesn't matter. I actually enjoy the smaller shows. I may not sell a lot, but you get to talk to people there and you get to meet people. And I love that stuff. I wanted to get face to face with some of my, what I call internet friends, so that we could have longer conversations. Yeah. Nevermorians, I should say.
I would guess, my favorite memories are when I could talk and learn something. Comic-Con 2.5, 3 years ago now. Gosh, time is so warped now.
Because 2020 felt like a decade.
It did. I have to even remember and think back. Somebody says 2019, and I'm going like, this is last year. 2019 seems like 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But I hope we can get back to some sense of normalcy in next year, year after.
Yep.
But I love talking to artists who are successful in comic industry or book cover industry, because I learned so much just letting them talk about their process, how they did this, where they came up with this idea, how they collaborated with the author. I've met artists that have authors where they will say, I need some sketches from you. I need 3 or 4 ideas from you. And I'll choose one and we'll go that direction. I am very happy to have worked with authors that will allow some collaboration, but they don't demand, I need to see what this looks like before you proceed with it too far, because I'm going to always send the author bits and pieces as we go. And I hope that the majority of the work that I've done meets with their approval, because a sincere approval, because we don't do a lot of I don't do a lot of sketching. I have sketched some designs for them for all of the authors that I have mentioned, a sketch here or there. But most of the time, we're talking ideas and concepts and feel. What do you want on this cover, but how do you want it to feel? What soundtrack do you want it playing in your head when you're looking at it?
Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins? No, I'm kidding.
That's
a great, it's one of my all-time favorite songs. Like, if I have a morning mix, I need something to jack me and get me going in the morning. Like, I'm going to put on some Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone first thing. Why? Because Top Gun has a great opening sequence, and second of all, it's Kenny freaking Loggins, okay?
Beautiful.
When you hear Danger Zone, you want to run out into the fray and just attack anything that's coming at you, because that will fire you up to be the most powerful person in the room, if I do say so myself. Now, granted, I may not have joined any members of the armed forces or anything like that, but when you hear the song in general, it's good for anybody. I don't care if you're in a naval aviator or not. I mean, if you have a pair of aviator shades and a jumpsuit like our good boy Maverick over there, that's fine. I mean, people have dressed up as this character for years. Conventions are Halloween season, by the way. That, Halloween, there's a lot of flight suits out there, I'm sure. But still, that's something that will get you going in the morning. I'm just saying, I can't speak for everybody, but if I'm going to listen to something first thing at 7 a.m., I'm hearing Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins. Kenny, I know you like the show. I know you're watching. Thank you for that great piece of music, because it wasn't just great for the film. It's just a great song, period.
Well, I'm not going to say that it didn't cause some bad driving habits in the 80s.
Probably.
That came on the radio.
Sure, a lot of people had a need for speed, and maybe they shouldn't have been going that fast, but that's
right.
just me. But no, I completely understand where you're coming from. Hopefully in the new year, when things hopefully will start to settle down and we can get more pieces of the earth reopen again, and we can go to, not have to worry about beaming ourselves up to the Enterprise and going off world somewhere else for our shore leave, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
We can figure that out. But if you had to give aspiring illustrators or graphic designers 3 pieces of advice, what would you give them?
First is keep drawing. Draw. Get on your computer, whatever. Today, Procreate is a program that is becoming the norm for many young artists. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't stop. It's still keep creating, keep drawing, keep honing your craft. I try to. Honestly, I've learned more in the past probably 5-6 years than I have in a lifetime of doing artwork. So keep working. Do not spend too much time on Pinterest or Instagram comparing yourself to other people. I am a 59-year-old artist. I've been doing this for a long time, and I still can depress myself by going on, Instagram.
Sites. Yeah.
Yes, because then you start comparing yourself to some. I've had this conversation with other artists before.
Sure.
And there's a lot of musicians in the world. There have been throughout history many musicians, but you don't find. Not everyone can be Beethoven. Not everyone can be Mozart. Not everyone can be John Williams. Those people are blessed with abilities that transcend what they're doing. They have abilities. That's why we are fans of theirs. But don't go on Instagram. Don't go as an artist and try to compare yourself to. You can aspire toward them. You can hone your craft and try to learn from them. Analyze what it is that you're seeing or hearing. If you're a musician, that makes you gravitate, makes that creative work attractive to you. Try to understand it. That's the best thing someone can do. But don't spend too much time there where you're suddenly going, well, that's beautiful, but I'll never do that. Oh, that's really nice, but I'll never do that. The moment you start doing that, close that social media, get off of that page, because you can, artists and writers, I'm sure, creatives across the board, you can beat yourself up better than anyone in the world. It's so easy because you know where you are lacking, and that's where you're going to throw the first punch at yourself. And so get away from that. Don't fill yourself with, stay positive. You're always going to be criticized. Take criticism for what it's worth. People, will criticize you because your work is good, or they may criticize you because your work could improve. But you're going to get criticism, so be able to take criticism. If not, you won't be able to do professional work. You're not going to be able to go out and get paid for it, because there's a lot of people, and more today because of social media and the connectivity of the internet, who are ready to criticize. They're just waiting to be keyboard warriors and attack you, like, come out from under the bridge and attack you. And they don't even care who you are, what you're trying to accomplish. They'll just attack. And I had to wrestle with that on occasions. So keep working. Don't beat yourself up by looking at others and comparing yourself to others, and be prepared for criticism. But just do the work. Do what makes you happy. Yeah,
of course. And thank you so much for sharing that with us here, Jeffrey. The next series of questions for you, these are the fun ones. Oh boy, you thought these first few questions we had were something? Fasten your seatbelts.
Oh no, these are hardballs, huh?
Red alert, all hands to battle stations. Set to course for Earth, maximum warp. Sorry, big Picard fan, and Patrick Stewart, you are a gift to mankind and have been for over how many decades he's been on this planet? One too many, but the guy still keeps kicking it. So Picard, live long and prosper, my friend. So the next series of questions for you are, this episode of And I Quote and every episode of And I Quote is powered by pod decks. Pod decks are the hottest new tool for podcasters looking to have more meaningful conversations or gamify their podcast. You simply shuffle them up. You ask a question, you let the content roll. Get yours today at poddecks.com, and make sure you use that promo code NERDCULTURE to get 10% off your order. You're not going to want to miss it. So here we go, Jeffrey. Rapid fire. First one out of the gate. What was the best present you ever received?
My first typewriter. I was given a typewriter because I used to do those little fan magazines, and the way I did them was pencil pen on notebook paper. And so when my family gave me my first typewriter, it allowed me to do things that I was never able to do, and helped me become a layout and design guy that I am today. So a typewriter is my absolute answer.
There you go. And I think this question may have a simple answer, but maybe you can dive into it just a little bit. Sure. Would you travel to space if possible?
That's an interesting question, because the possibilities have certainly changed in the past several years.
Yeah, Kirk just went to space a few months ago.
Would I do it today? My wife asked me that when William Shatner went up in space, and we watched the coverage on social media and on TV. I don't know if I'm brave enough to do it. In my mind's eye, I would love to. I can't even imagine what breaking through the clouds would look like. You imagine it in movies, you imagine it on TV, but to really see that, it's beyond my ability to imagine. How, I've gotten to fly a few times in my life, and I love watching, I love looking at, I hate heights. I'm terrified of heights. Anything under 20 feet or so, I'll be terrified. But if it's I think if I could afford it, I think I would. I probably would. Yes. If the technology improves, it would be awesome. If the price came down as I get older, I might throw caution to the wind and do something weird like that. Yes. Would I love to do it if it were infallible? Absolutely. If I knew I could get into something and take off and it be infallible, sure. I would love that. That's Star Trek. Just to be able to sit on a ship and be able to travel through space is an amazing thought.
There you go. Being on the bridge of the Enterprise.
Absolutely.
There's not many things that can beat that, because the more I dive into Star Trek and the more I see how their ships and other pieces of the series work, the more I think to myself, man, we should have just beamed everybody up to the Enterprise and gotten out of Dodge when COVID hit, because then we wouldn't have to deal with it.
Absolutely.
It's just...
Well, another weird thing about Star Trek, honestly, and I know this has been said by many Trekkies over the years.
Sure.
One of the things I loved about Star Trek, going back to the original series, it taught me how personal relationships, probably not all of Star Trek taught me how personal relationships work, but some of it taught me how to respect other people It really did. It also taught me words to use and to understand people have something to offer. Everyone has something to offer. And I'm proud of being an OG fan because it allowed me to be a Next Generation fan, which I think did that better.
Well, Mr. Scott, ready to beam up. Anyhow, that's a Kirk line. But anyway, I'll let that one go. Who is the best female role model in your life?
My wife. And I say that because she is everything that I'm not. And I think that's why we've been married 30 years this month on the
Congratulations.
21st. Thank you. Thank you.
You said it's this month is your 30th?
Absolutely, on the 21st. It'll be our 30th anniversary.
Right before the holiday known as Christmas. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Man, that's a Christmas gift and lovey-dovey all rolled into one. Boy, the Turtle Doves business is jumping like crazy right now. Congratulations. Happy anniversary to you.
Thank you.
And the missus. That is fan-flippin-tastic, man. Because BKM just celebrated his 30th a few months ago as well with Cookie.
Absolutely. Yeah, she is everything that I'm not, and we learn from each other. And the thing is where I'm short, she is tall, and I just,
oh boy,
it's been 30 great years.
My goodness gracious, man! Congratulations, man. That is fantastic. Riker and Troy are together. Isn't that sweet? Sorry, I'm thinking of TNG. I know that's not real life, but hey. It happened on the show, and they're still, very good friends in real life are Jonathan Frakes and what's her name? Marina Sirtis. So I'll leave that to your imagination. What is the main quality you think makes a great parent?
A quality that makes a great parent.
Mm-hmm.
How can I put this in words?
And by the way, if anyone has any thoughts on these questions, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear about them. Once again, these questions are brought to you by Poddex. Go to poddex.com and use that promo code NerdCulture to get 10% off your order. You're not going to want to miss this. The question on the table is, what is the main quality you think makes a great parent?
So I hope that I think encouragement would be my answer. To be able to encourage your child, allow them to explore who they want to be, what career they want to have, what hobbies they want to enjoy, what genre of music, or do they like comic books, or do they like playing golf? Whatever it is, encourage that. I hope I've done that with my son. He's in his late 30s now. I don't even want to. Oh my gosh! So. God, he's your age, actually.
I know, yeah. Time catches up to all of us eventually now, doesn't it?
But I hope that, Steph and I did that. We have encouraged him. And we still encourage him. I hope so. But that encouragement.
All right. Is he a Star Warsian and a Trekkie like yourself?
He is not a Trekkie. He likes Star Trek, but he loves Star Wars. And he loves Jurassic Park. You can tell the age here we're comparing to.
Oh, boy.
He loves Top Gun.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Good picks. I mean, is he excited for Jurassic World Dominion though?
Okay, so he likes anything and everything Jurassic Park. What the thing about Daniel is that he's very much like me is that even though those movies
they butchered it.
It may fall short of what you're.
It's terrible.
Yeah, but he loves it enough that he'll still go. And it's like I went to every Star Wars movie.
That's fair.
Although, will I go back? Will I watch it again? No. I have.
Unless The Mandalorian gets a limited engagement at a theater downtown, then
now I'll go over and over.
Well, that's if that in fact happens. I'm just speculating. I'm not saying it is, but if we're playing fantasy football here. You put Mandalorian in the theaters, or if you put the new one, Book of Boba Fett, in the theaters, I can guarantee you're going to make some money off of that.
I think we are in an interesting age of being able to watch comic books on television and in the theater, and I think I'm happy that Star Wars is getting. That's going to show my. I'm so happy that Mandalorian came out and was so successful.
Yes.
It actually met the expectations that I had for the new movies that fell short.
There you go.
And
take the good with the bad.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there weren't some interesting things and fun things in the new movies.
There just wasn't a plan. There was no plan.
Right.
They were just like they said in 1981's Raiders, I'm going after that truck. How? I don't know. I'm making this up as I go. I mean, hey, if Indy can make it up as he goes, apparently the powers that be of Lucasfilm made it up as they went because they had no idea what they were doing in those 3 movies. The first one,
I don't know how it happened.
The first one, and they had a clear idea of what they were going to, or had, like, they thought they knew what they were going to do. And then, unfortunately, the creatives and the behind-the-scenes troubles came up and just threw that thing out of the water, unfortunately. It landed in Kashyyyk, and no, not Kashyyyk, that's wrong. The series landed in Camino, and it got flooded, and it sank to the bottom of the ocean, and it didn't come back, unfortunately. But Mandalorian brought it back, and Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, I agree. And I think
momentum in December, or should I say
the Skywalker series for me, because of my age and because of the way I was exposed to Star Wars,
kind of a big deal.
It is a huge deal. It is a beautiful story, and even the prequels did some justice to the early story. I can live with the prequels. They didn't murder my eyeballs like.
For some people, they did, but like I said, we're not going to get into a soapbox or a debate. I'm just going to say that some people may have liked that trilogy, some people may have not, and that's fine. Right. If you want to like something, you like it. If you want to hate on something, you hate on it. But at the same time, it's like just.
I'm not gonna bash people because they like it. I'm not.
A lot of people worked hard to put these movies together, even though they may have thought on paper they were the best things in sliced bread. But when you look at the final cut of episodes 2 and 3, which I mean Attack of the Clone and Revenge of the Sith, I'm thinking to myself, what was going on? Because you had no idea how to make a good movie in 2 and 3. 1 had its issues as well, but listen. But anyway, the question on everyone's mind is, what is the main thing that makes a great parent? And you said you hope you encourage your son, so that's fantastic way to go about it. And look, there are brighter days hopefully ahead of us. There are hopefully brighter days ahead for you who are watching this within the comfort of your own home. But on that note, I want to take this opportunity to thank Jeffrey Hayes of Plasmafire Graphics for being our guest this week on this week's episode, I should say, of And I Quote. Jeffrey Hayes, where can the good people of the interwebs find you online and everything you have coming up?
The quickest way to find me is at www.plasmafiregraphics, all one word.com. That's my website, and they can certainly find me on Instagram or Facebook at Plasmafire Graphics. Those are the quickest, fastest ways to get a hold of me.
Fantastic. And the links to where you can find all that are located in the description of this video. So make sure you check that out. Once again, Jeffrey Hayes, thank you so much for being with us on And I Quote. It has been a gift, should I say? 'Tis the holiday season. 'Tis better to give than receive. And I feel like we've gotten a
Ryan, you are such a big supporter of me and my friends, and I greatly appreciate that. So this has been a blast.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being with us. And my name is Ryan of Nerd Culture. You can find us on all forms of social media and everything we have going on here simply at It's Nerd Culture. New videos are being posted on our YouTube channel each and every week. So make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. And in the meantime, to you, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe, and read more books. Live long and prosper. And don't forget to check out our good friends over there at HWWS Web TV. Great lineup of shows run by a great and wonderful group of people. Once again, thank you so much for being with us. And also, one more thing I want to bring up. Almost forgot, but I'm not going to forget now. There is a special event coming up in the month of January of 2022. It is called the Multiverse Fundraiser. It is coming up January the 21st through January the 23rd. It is going to be on the Back of the Cereal Box podcast and the Multiverse Fundraiser Facebook pages. All the videos are going to be there. We got a great lineup of guests such as Sarah Douglas, who played Ursa in Superman 2. Superman 2! With the late, great Christopher Reeve and the late, great Margot Kidder, as well as many other actors and actresses. We also have ER and The Librarians and Falling Skies. Noah Wiley is going to be joining us that weekend. You got Camille Mitchell, who played the sheriff on the hit TV series known as Smallville, which is arguably the best comic book TV series of all time and the longest running comic book TV series of all time with 10 wonderful seasons that include 218 super episodes, if I do say so myself. And also, Anthony Rapp, among others, is going to be with us. Anthony Rapp from Adventures in Babysitting. And now he's on Star Trek Discovery, if I'm remembering this correctly, and a host of many others. So check it out. Like the pages. Subscribe to the pages. Subscribe to the YouTube channels. It's January the 21st to the 23rd. All the money is raised during the course of that weekend is going to go to the Valerie Perrine Project. Valerie Perrine played the character of Miss Tessmacher in the original Christopher Reeve Superman movies. She is going through a lot of health difficulties, and we want to help her and support her the best way we know how. We're going to raise as much money as we can, but we can't do it without you. So make sure you check it out, and make sure you smash that bell to be notified of when the videos go live, when the videos go up. All that stuff, you're going to be able to take part and ask our celebrities questions and our guests and wonderful panels we're going to be holding throughout the course of that weekend. So pack your bags, get ready, because you don't even have to leave the comfort of your own home. You can experience this in your home. It's virtual. We want to give this to you. I think it's going to be a great gift. And I want to thank all the staff members, all the organizers who are putting the Multiverse fundraiser together. So check it out. You're not going to want to miss it. But as I said before, take care of yourself. Enjoy the holiday season. New episodes of And I Quote are going up on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Do not miss it. Take care, everyone. Have a good one.
I'm GW Pomacher.
I'm Dina Marie.
I'm Sage Ia.
I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
Hey, I'm David Thompson.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mia.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hey there, this is Dave Adams.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Rose.
Jerome Conner here.
Hey guys, it's Josh Bauer.
Willow Schuyler.
I'm Cosplay Michael.
Abba. It's your boy Country.
I'm Ryan Permison.
And I'd like to ask you guys,
please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please
subscribe.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe to HWWS
Web TV.
Great bunch of people.
And don't forget to smash the bell.
Ring that bell.
Smash that bell.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell to be notified.
Hit the bell to get notified of new shows
and videos.
You're going to want to do that, so do that soon.
So we can cross that 20,000 mark.
And get us to 100,000 subscribers.
To 1 million and 10 million and 100 million.
On HWWS
Web TV.
You